dumpster fire of an app. Make a plan for November 5th. Talk to friends. Make sure they're registered and plan to vote. If they aren't planning to, talk to them about how important this election is. Do something. I phone banged for the first time, did postcards for the first time. I have friends that have never canvassed that are out canvassing.
I think there's a lot of people doing things this election they have never done before, which is wonderful. I think more people are going to get out and vote than we've ever seen. And I think that their family and their friends, they're getting people registered to vote that weren't even registered. And there's still hope and faith that things are going to go right. Not necessarily on November 5th. There's no way we're going to know.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of effery on the other side, but I think we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
And again, I have to keep saying it over and over again, Dana, so people know it is by Republican design that we won't know on November 5th. It's Republican states that will not let them count ballots. Right, so that then they can scream, "Oh, how come they haven't counted the ballots?" I mean, it's so ridiculous. That they do this every time. That then they scream, "Oh, I have to stop the counting. There must be fraud going on." And I just have to say, I have to read a Mark Elias tweet every hour just to calm myself. He said, today the RNC lost a case in Pennsylvania. Yesterday it lost in Georgia. On Monday it lost in Michigan. Last week it lost in Nevada. Their allies just lost in Wisconsin and dismissed 3 others in Nevada. They are using litigation to sow distrust, but they aren't winning. So he's doing his part, as I keep saying. Let's do our part, right?
He is doing a 1,000 people's part. Mark Elias deserves a vacation and a beat wherever he wants to go after this, and 100 drinks sent to him, and whatever he needs. Just a big thank you.
I feel like those of us just like barely hanging on to our sanity. You summed it up in like one tweet. You said Donald's showing serious signs of mental decline, saying immigrants are eating cats and dogs, kids are being medically transitioned at school, windmills cause cancer, MAGA's out here asking for proof about whether or not Kamala worked at McDonald's. Make it make sense. I mean, this is the stupidest timeline in the stupidest election cycle in the history of the world, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And we can all blame mainstream, if you want to call it that, mainstream media. Dan and Bash, I mean, really disappointing after the CNN town hall. I don't know if that's been commented on the first 2 hours, but for her to be like, I don't know if Kamala sealed the deal. Donald Trump hasn't shown up for a town hall.
Thank you.
Why do they keep moving the goalposts on her and saying, I don't know if she sealed the deal? You know, that meme about, don't tell me you don't know enough about her when you know everything you need to know about him. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah. By the way, we talked. Do we play? I'm sorry to do this to you. Yes, cut 4. I'm sorry to do it to you.
You got Department of Education. You got half the buildings at Department of Education. I never saw. You don't need any of them. I want one person and a secretary to just make sure they're teaching English. Mm-hmm. Okay, give it a little English. Okay, I say reading, writing, and arithmetic. No transgender, no operations. They take your kid. There are some places, your boy leaves the school, comes back, a girl. Okay?
Okay. Sorry to do it to you again. As you said, Jesus Christ, listen, if you drop your kid off a boy and comes back a girl, take that child back to school because you took home the wrong child. Enough of this bull. Teachers can't even give your kid an Advil without parental consent. Thank you.
Why aren't they pushing back against this one? I mean, they are using this to divide our country. There's ads all over trying to hurt the trans community. This somehow caught traction, and so they're using it. You can push back against election lies and his lies against the trans community in the same breath. Say something. This is absurd because he knows how to reach parents, make them fear for their children. Yeah. His campaign figured it out. All of this false fear about this and the bathrooms and sports, it's all contrived, and it's not a real danger. Make people talk about what actually is affecting their life, because I guarantee it's not Julie who wants to play middle school volleyball with her friends.
Nothing he says is true. I asked Carl Frisch about this. He's the head of a school board. I'm like, because I kept thinking this was like the Hillary, child sex pizza ring. I'm like, would anybody really believe that? Well, a portion of his cult did, because I'm like, is there anyone that actually believes any kid is getting dropped off at school and having trans surgery?
Thank God at least one of those guys in that barbershop laughed audibly at him when it came out of his mouth. Yes. At least some people are pushing back against this in real time. I mean, whether it's the people asking questions on Univision or these, someone laughing at him in a barbershop, there's some sanity still left, and I'm hoping that there's more than we're hearing.
Yeah. By the way, you retweeted. Now, this is a headline because, we're so used to the mainstream media not doing their job that when they actually get a headline right, good for you. Give them a little New York Magazine.
Attaboy.
Give them an attaboy.
Yeah.
New York Magazine. So, in an effort to highlight his claim about Kamala Harris never worked at a McDonald's, Trump pretended to work at a closed McDonald's where he served pretend orders to supporters pretending to be customers. Thank you. That's the way you say it, not Trump worked at a McDonald's, right?
Absolutely. No gloves, no hairnet. Let's give him a real shift. And by the way, let's not give him a half an hour shift. Let's do the 8 hours that someone stands in front of a hot fryer putting out thousands of orders of McDonald's fries. These and I hate that they call it a campaign stop. It's not a campaign stop if every single part of it is orchestrated by the campaign, where the place is closed. They control who comes through. They control the workers. This is a photo op. Call it what it is. It's a photo op.
Yeah. You retweeted your friend, your buddy, your pal, Allison Gill, who said, who quoted the whole, it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a Mexican, don't pay it. And you just said, Donald Trump, and go ahead and come at me, MAGA. Your guy is a despicable person. I mean, that sums up his racism and his disrespect for the
people
for the
are
troops.
like, that was debunked by Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows? We're supposed to
yeah, you're going to believe.
Meadows?
Yeah. By the
Instead
way,
of a general? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And by the way, so the slain soldier's sister, this is what makes me so sad. She, of course, said, Donald Trump showed nothing but, respect for me and my family. I voted for him. Of course, he didn't say that in front of you,
Right.
And first of all, I'm no fan of John Kelly, but are you kidding me?
Right.
You're, compared to the biggest liar in the history of the world, you're going to say John Kelly's not telling the truth? What's in it for John Kelly?
Absolutely.
Right.
And you got Mark Meadows saying, he would never speak that way. No, he
please.
does. We've seen him speak that way at rallies. We've seen him talk about people in real life in front of our eyes despicably.
Right.
So to think that he wouldn't go as far as disparaging a fallen soldier, give me a break.
But these poor families that are used as props, and, of course he was nice to your face. It's like that's that. But,
he also didn't rape every woman he came across. I mean, come on.
Right. You retweeted, many Democrats think their vote might not matter much in Texas. It does. Colin Allred and Ted Cruz neck and neck in the polls. Yeah, I keep talking about a lot of these Senate races. Oh, I forgot to mention Sherrod Brown is a fantastic senator. Please, God. Don't
God, please
after
save him
Peter
in Ohio.
Thiel bought you this douche-tastic J.D. Vance, please vote for a real senator in Ohio. But
Yeah, he's a good man, and he's done good things for that state.
Yeah, no, he is. He's terrific. But anyway, that tells you everything you need to know that Texas is in play. And Colin Allred is absolutely dead heat.
And by the way, if you are listening in your Ohio and you have not voted yet, your ballot measure 1, please make sure that you actually vote yes. They have rewritten that ballot. Your little Frank DeRose there, he tried to take abortion access away from you, got permission from that Republican Supreme Court to change the wording. You can actually ungerrymander your state if you vote yes on that initiative and not no. So if you haven't voted, make sure you research that, because the language is awful. They're making it sound like if you vote yes on it, you're actually voting for gerrymandering, and you're not.
Yeah. Speaking of, I just mentioned Peter Thiel. Allison Gill also tweeted, why on earth would Elon and Thiel pay tens of millions of dollars to elect Trump? Because that pales in comparison to the money they would steal from us with official acts immunity. I mean, think about it. Why would someone spend that kind of money?
Oh, 100%. Elon Musk, it's the government contracts first. Peter Thiel, I think his ego just wants to get into the White House. I really think they're going to work weekend at Bernie, Trump, and put him to pasture as soon as this happens. Forbid. Yeah. We just don't let it happen.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's not going to happen this election. Let's get Kamala Harris elected. But in 4 years, we're going to have to defeat J.D. Vance because he's going to run.
God. I had missed the story. You retweeted Trump on Monday visited Asheville, North Carolina to see the damage caused by Hurricane Helene and proudly showed off his his French fry certification pin. And you just did a whole ha 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 ha. I'm sure the area devastated by a hurricane couldn't be more proud of the baby boy. This is like the dumbest campaign ever, right?
And I don't know if the guy who handed it to him was trolling him or not, but the way he was like, here's your successful fry pan, and he held it up like it was a ribbon for participation day.
I'm putting it next to my Michigan Man of the Year that I also never won. Here's my French fry pan. God, please let this be over. Okay, 18 minutes after the hour. Dana's here. Everything's automatically better.
It is.
This portion of the show brought to you by my morning kick also make.
Let's see. I definitely have my sort of like wavering of like similarly where it's like, okay, I think it's feeling pretty good, and then other times like, oh dear God. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons why is because the sort of punditocracy and the polling is being doctored by they're flooding the zone with red leaning polls. But even the mainstream pollsters are overcorrecting. They are fighting the last war. They were burned so in 2016 that ever since then they've over-indexed on Republican voters.
Yeah.
And the results that we've seen in elections over the past 5 years especially have been, they tend to be consistently more favorable than everybody's expecting for the Democrats.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I hang on to this like stubborn belief that we're actually doing better than even the conventional wisdom would suggest that we are.
I agree.
I overall feel that when we, it's when we fight, we win.
Mm-hmm.
When we turn out, we win.
Yeah, that's true.
Turnout was low in 2016. It's been very good ever since. And we've been winning elections and we've been winning most of the elections that have mattered since then.
And case in point, Trump's campaign recently released internal polls showing him winning by an average of 2 points in major swing states. Even National Review, who is conservative, peeked behind the curtain and found some of the numbers simply don't add up. They express skepticism Trump could be making as big a gains with voters of color as his pollsters claim and still only be up an average of 2 points in battleground states. Trump's own polling must show he's losing ground among white voters, they write. It shows Harris with a 17-point lead among whites with at least a 4-year college degree. That's nearly double the 9-point advantage that Biden had in 2020. I mean, I keep saying the two independent polls were released this morning or yesterday. Mm-hmm. They're the same. She's up by 4 or 5 points. I mean, I don't think any of us know which polls are right at this point or how exact they're going to be. But, I keep hearing these scare clickbait like, oh, my God, black voters have abandoned our Latinos. And then you see polls that show exactly the opposite, right?
Right.
You're like, I'm sorry, 87% to 12. Yeah, that seems like she's really been abandoned.
It was a CBS and Siena one, and they did a comparison of 2020 versus 2024. And in both cases, it was this was of black voters. It was 93-7 in both of the polls from 4 years ago.
Abandon her.
Nothing has changed. Right. Nothing has changed. No, if that is clickbait or that is ratings bait, we should treat it that way. That's what we're seeing from a lot of mainstream outlets is they want to make money on this election and scare us into watching and clicking and so forth. And we need to make sure that there's other folks like you, Stephanie, who are actually, saying what's going on, and we'll still listen, even though it's better news. But we don't need to be scared into paying attention. We're paying attention anyway.
Right. Right.
Don't put your finger on the scale, but it seems like a lot of these outlets are.
Yep. Well, you tweeted Donald Trump refusing to abide by the results of November's election. In 2016, he refused. The media failed to call him out. In 2020, he refused, led the January 6th conspiracy and insurrection. 2024, he's refusing again. Will anyone hold him accountable? As the guy that nailed him for Trump University fraud, you must think what... that should have been the nail in a political coffin, but how many nails have there been since then, right?
Right. I mean, just that alone it would have been absolutely devastating to 99% of other political candidates pre-Trump. It would have been done. The Access Hollywood thing just would have been curtains. If that had been any other politician, they would have withdrawn within 24 hours of that coming out.
And now he's a 34 count convicted felon adjudicated rapist.
That didn't knock him out. That didn't knock him out. Nope. Didn't knock him out.
And swing to music for 40 minutes on stage.
Yep.
After the media chased Joe Biden out of the race for having a bad debate.
Right. We know he's not going to withdraw. We know that people like Mitch McConnell aren't going to say that he should quit.
on your bucket list, watch Frangela sing this in karaoke. The Dove's crying segment is quite lengthy and quite emotional.
Yeah.
All right. Dana Goldberg, hi.
Hey, Dana.
Good morning.
Hiya. So, you're a co-host, AG, from Mueller, She Wrote. I just thought this would be a little, throwback. Robert Mueller speaks out about election interference. For the first time, Bob Mueller has lent his voice to talking about election interference. He said, Americans have not learned the lessons of Russia's attack on our democracy in 2016, he writes for a forthcoming book. He said, the threat deserves the attention of every American. Russia attacked us before and will do so again. They're doing it now, obviously. The review states previously redacted material from the Mueller report, since released under Freedom of Information Act, suggests that the special counsel's office may have believed that Trump lied in answering at least one of those questions. Mueller wanted a subpoena for Trump, but the Attorney General blocked and delayed it. The new book walks through the frustration the team felt because Mueller chose not to push further. Bill Barr's final document was extremely misleading and obscured the extent to which the department worked to shield Trump. I mean, in many ways, it's the original sin, right? It's how we got here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're still doing it. I mean, the Russian disinformation lies, the deep fakes, the articles of the bots that are coming out. I mean, for them to write an article that Tim Walz hurt anybody, much less an LGBTQ kid, and groom somebody, and that gets spread like wildfire, and then it's proof that they came from a Russian account. It's incredibly frustrating that they can destroy someone's reputation in a moment on social media right now because of the way things are spread without any sort of fact checking.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not past tense. I keep saying, I hope that we're a little more aware of it now, having lived through it already in 2016. But it does infuriate you that that's the original sin he got away with,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're going to stay mad about a lot of things, about
Yes.
Hillary. A lot of people are going to stay mad about this. And it's just, I think what makes me even more angry is that the Republicans know and don't care. Like, that's the biggest thing. If you've got these Ted Cruzes that hopefully are about to lose his job in 11 days, you've got Marjorie Taylor Greenes, and you've got even these other people that, could have done something. Liz Cheney is one of the only ones, and I hate defending Liz Cheney, that spoke up. You know what I mean? And actually put country over party, excuse me.
Yeah, by the way,
Kinzinger, too.
John Kelly helped.
Yes, Kinzinger as well.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
But John Kelly helped Trump smear, a Representative Federica, is it Wilson? Who was, talking about his disrespect to another war widow. Remember? He said to this widow, like, oh, your husband knew what he was getting into. And so because she was, was telling that story, John Kelly, I respect his service. I respect everyone's service, but I don't think he's a hero in this. I mean, I'm glad he's speaking out, but he still won't say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. You have to vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, he still is talking about what an incredible threat and fascist Donald Trump is. But then he said this, like, both sidesy thing, Dan. I don't know if you heard it yesterday, where he's like, oh, well, whoever wins, I just hope we get back to, common ground and not hating each other. And, I think as Nicole Wallace said yesterday, only one candidate's running on that.
100%.
And that's Kamala Harris. Like,
Absolutely.
Don't say, oh, either way, whoever wins, it'll be fine. You just said it won't be fine, that he's a fascist, right?
Yeah. And all these people, I feel like you're wasting your breath asking for George W. to come out and endorse all these tweets about him. He's never done it. He's not going to do it. I'm not sure he even knows who's president right now. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen.
As George Sr. would say, not going to do it.
Not going to do it.
Not going to do
it. Wouldn't be prudent.
Wouldn't be prudent.
I don't think it would be prudent.
Marco just bloated blue in Texas. Woohoo! Hey, Marco.
Hey, how are you there?
Good. Go ahead.
Good. Hey, well, listen, thank you for accepting my call. My name's Marco Antonio. I was born and raised in Galveston Island, Texas, that is. My dad was born in Port Arthur, Texas, but was reared in Mexico. My mother was from Mexico. And I got a couple things I want to tell you. First of all, I just got out of the voting booth. I went Democrat all the way.
All right.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is that a truck? Is that a truck behind you?
No.
All right. Pay attention to the road. You're making me nervous. Pay attention to the road. Thank you. Vote blue. That was like That was like in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. It was like a giant truck horn.
Oh, yeah.
See?
You're
It's a
going
good
the
thing he
wrong
already
way.
voted.
Well, I think he was at Galveston Harbor where there are boat.
Oh, it was a boat.
yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully he wasn't just struck by a boat. Okay. But he already voted, so good for him. I'm not saying anything. All right, DG Comedy. You can follow her everywhere. And we got it for another half hour.
That's right.
So everything
You sure do.
is already better. And now it's going to be that much even. Whatever.
And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, Dana Goldberg is here. By the way, to your point about Mark Meadows, going, oh, that didn't happen. His saying, I'm not paying for a Mexican's funeral or whatever. Mark Meadows just failed in his effort to obtain a large number of documents from the National Archives that he said would prove his innocence in the Georgia election case. The federal judge told him the attempt had been flawed from the start. I mean, make no mistake, it's not just Trump running to stay out of prison. So's this guy. So you're going to believe anything he says? I mean, anyway. So
that's the thing too, that he's banking on Trump getting reelected and pardoning him. Like, I understand that this is it's a federal case. The documents case is a federal case, right? Even though it was...
Yeah, it was dismissed, but, obviously but Jack Smith is appealing to get it reinstated.
Right, so if Jack Smith gets this back up, hopefully he can get Eileen Cannon, now that she's on the list, for the short list for Secretary of State, off of the case.
Attorney General, yeah.
Thank you. Damn, I all my words this morning. But yeah, the Attorney General off the case. I hope that the judge actually, brings the case back up, and so we can just sort of start anew.
Yeah, that's got to be an "Are you effing kidding me?" slam dunk.
100%.
It is written down. She's at the top of the list for Attorney General. She absolutely has to be removed from this case. I mean, I guess we can sometimes be happy for their hubris and the stuff that, like Kamala Harris always says. Can you believe they wrote this down?
Yeah.
Project 2025. I mean, it's. Yeah, so
and they're going to keep doing it. There's been no consequences. So we're just going to keep criming in public. Might as well. No one's doing anything about it. We are trying to. And the only way we can hold them accountable is to get out and vote. That's it at this point.
I don't know how many warnings from how many people we can hear from, but Trump presents
now a warning.
Unprecedented threat to American civil liberty that could usher in an era of racial violence and political tyranny should he reclaim the White House. A new analysis of political research shows. No kidding. A New York Times columnist writes extensive but dire warning to the American people, in which he begged voters not to make what one expert described to him as a deal with the devil. It's the ordinary day-to-day life we lead at our kitchen tables and in our bedrooms that is most dangerously threatened by the tyranny that the return of Trump to power would represent. Dan, when I was phone banking, one woman answered the phone in Pennsylvania, said, "Oh, I don't vote," and just hung up on me. And it's those people, the half the country that doesn't vote, that goes, "Oh, I don't do politics." That I keep saying, well, politics is going to do you, because you're going to find out how this affects you at your kitchen table, right?
I'm so impressed. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I can only imagine getting that person answering, and I don't know, it's sort of a helpless feeling if they just say, "I don't vote," and hang up. What do you do? Well, okay, we're not going to call you back. We can just start harassing them. It's infuriating, the amount of people. I still think, and I know it's a little controversial, I think you should get fined for not voting in this country. I think it should be a national holiday, and I think there should be some sort of consequence for not actually exercising the rights that we have fought and won.
What country is it? Australia? What
has Australia
has mandatory voting? Yeah. Although I hear some of these Trumpers interview, I'm like, no, don't make everyone vote.
Well, there's thank God more of us, but yeah,
there are more of us. I mean, this one, the 15 largest corporate beneficiaries of Trump's tax cut have dumped a combined $839 billion into executive enriching stock buybacks and dividends since the measure's package. Of course, and he's running on doing another round of those. One analyst said the biggest corporate winners of the Trump tax giveaway use their massive windfalls mostly to pad profits and enrich a small group of wealthy investors instead of raising their workers' wages and lowering prices for consumers. So and I'm glad Kamala Harris has been talking about greedflation, about corporate greed, because it is a huge issue.
It is. I still go back. I'm not trying to pounce on undecided voters. It's just hard for me to believe that anyone, and like the person who asked
you want to throttle them.
In the town hall yesterday, that I think she was some sort of an environmentalist or something, and was like, "I'm not sure who I'm voting for." I was like, "What?" Or an economist. It was whatever it was. It was something that was very clear that there's stark contrast between the candidates, and she's still like, "Sure."
Yeah. All right, let's some more
like
Harris.
Judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is.
Let's review, Dana, in 2024. Hitler, bad. Still bad.
Yeah. Nazis, bad.
If you would even do any interviews, wouldn't you like someone to go, really, what good things? What good things did Hitler do?
Yeah.
I mean,
Push back on him. That's why he won't do any interviews. He's just
Right.
going to keep saying these crazy, outlandish things, so we
Yep.
don't focus on the fact that he has no policy.
Yeah.
I mean, did that story ever drop yesterday where it was like, oh, bombshells coming? I had to go to work, so I don't even know.
Yes, it was the groping story.
Yeah, the latest.
It was
woman
because I don't know. Allison said that, and I'm not saying that that's not true, but that woman gave a public on the survivors for Harris. She was on the call a week, 4 days before the story broke. Someone else, it wouldn't have been some sort of a bombshell by then. But I guess if that's it, it
the reason I think
matter.
it's not a bombshell because she's the 11 billionth woman, and as one survivor tweeted, and I read it earlier, said, "Please, before all the people rush to say, oh, it won't matter." To people, please, like, think of all of us that that are victims. You know what I mean? That
Absolutely.
when we keep hearing, "Oh, it doesn't matter," because we're
That's
so
a
numb.
really good point, Stephanie. A very good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we're numb. Just because we're numb to it doesn't mean we should be numb to his.
Yeah. And honestly, I was one of those people that tweeted, whatever comes out, it's not going to sway his cult. But you're absolutely right. I appreciate you saying that. It does matter. Survivors need to speak out and not feel like it doesn't matter if I say anything. You know, Christine Blasey Ford went in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. It was the Senate, right?
Yeah.
Because, Lindsey Graham was like going off about. I get them confused sometimes.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Leslie. But it matters. It matters when people are heard and their voices are heard because, when you've got a story coming out, 2 years later saying the FBI throttled that investigation. I'm sorry, the White House did, and the FBI's hands were tied and couldn't actually investigate the 4,200 tips that came in.
Before we all just go,
it matters.
"Oh, it doesn't matter." Let's make this a country where it matters again.
Absolutely.
Let's make this a country where this is not normal. This degree of criminality and sexual assault, and that nothing seems to matter anymore. Kevin, the hilarious gay in Chicago, is here in 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, honey.
I have to say really quickly, I always feel weird calling when you're on because it's kind of like, I liken it to when Stephanie takes pictures next to supermodels. It's not, I shouldn't be doing it.
It's just too much.
Mama,
It's obviously repetitive. It's just
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't
Yeah.
want to steal my spotlight. You don't want to steal theirs. I
it's like-
understand.
Right. We're full up on hilarious gays this hour, but fine. Go ahead.
Well, Mama, since we're talking about Chris's body today, I felt compelled to call in. And I just have to say, Chris's body is responsible for some of the best hugs I have ever received.
Thank you, Kevin.
Let's
Chris,
just say his body.
never hugged me.
His body's everybody's choice. Yeah.
Right. So, Chris, you do you. I'll do you.
I am.
But I also wanted to say,
He slipped that
And
to
I'm
you
only-
without even
Yes, he
telling you
did.
you're pretty.
Yes, no lube.
slipped it in no loop. Well, last week you said that I was dead to you, so I wanted to get back into your favor. But while I understand the urge to have everyone early vote, especially in the battleground states, and I'm completely in agreement with that, I also like to vote on Election Day. My children are off to school that day, so I like to bring them with so that they can see me fulfilling my civic duty. I feel very patriotic while doing so, and there's just something so energetic about being an American on Election Day. So I'm with you on that. And also, lastly, because Chris, you and I agree, like 9 times out of 10, I implore everyone listening to get your Chris is always right t-shirt.
Yes.
No, I implore you to get your Chris is always wrong
I saw
t-shirt.
so many Chris is right t-shirts in Kansas City. You have no idea.
Well, it also means that I'm right. So
That's right.
get those,
All right.
those t-shirts.
All right.
Love
Thank
you.
you. I love you. Okay, I need some more Kamala Harris, please. Thank you.
This is a window into who Donald Trump really is. From the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one, and vowed to use the military as his personal militia.
Everything about this guy is
to
fake.
carry out
Everything.
his personal and political vendettas.
You know,
that overlap was actually really perfectly
Yeah,
timed.
kind of.
little
Sorry.
mashup there with Tim Walz.
Yeah, a little mashup. Whoop, whoop.
You know, I was saying I rarely agree with. Sorry. Oh my God, with Van Jones, you know, but he said it best last night. It's just they're not even taking the same. Forget Donald Trump's graded on a curve. They're not even taking the same exam. Right. He can be lawless, and she has to be flawless. Right?
I mean, when you've got a journalist talking about she's ready to be president, but I'm not sure about her wardrobe, get out of here. Like, I'm so glad that person, I think it was maybe a Daily Beast publication, just got trolled on social media for putting out an article like that. In this day and age, 2024, you're going to talk about her wardrobe? This guy's wearing a tie that he trips over. He's got a suit from Big that his father probably wore that he's just been like, I think this fits.
Yeah.
And they're talking about Kamala Harris's outfit. I would wear half of her suits. She looks so hot. I hate that I'm actually like
she is beautiful.
This is obviously the first time I've fantasized about any presidential nominee. Clearly why. But it's just it's mind blowing what the mainstream media is doing to her and what they're getting away with these op-eds.
But
I mean, just because you wrote something doesn't mean it needs to be published.
Yeah, and also, Dana, speaking of unprecedented again, we've just never seen this. Where the other candidate will not debate. Will not do any interviews, has canceled every interview. I mean, they're not even, and yet she has to answer these gotcha questions, right? Where he just gets to sit in the peanut gallery and heckle. And the media doesn't, you know, you have a guy that's clearly in decline. They ran Joe Biden out of this race. And still no medical records, no tax returns. No, I mean, here we are, right?
The fact that they're not like demanding his medical records after what they did to Joe Biden, I think is one of the most infuriating parts for me. And it's got to be a doctor that is not in Donald Trump's back pocket.
Yeah, and meanwhile, President Biden's fine.
Yeah.
Here he is yesterday on the campaign trail. Yeah, 3. President Biden talking about the ACA. Oh, okay.
He wants to replace it with his, I love this guy. I'm trying to be a very good fellow. I'm not letting my Irish get the best of me. But my predecessor, the distinguished former president, he wants to replace the Affordable Care Act with that's what he refers to, a concept of the plan. I've heard that concept of a plan now for almost 8 years. The concept of a plan. What the hell is a concept of a... He has no concept of anything. No plan.
He's trying not to get his Irish up. Does anyone else use that? Do you get your Jewish up sometimes?
I think it's a little bit different.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't really know what that means.
Let's just not, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to keep going.
All right, let's just, I'm going to walk, I'm just going to traipse right by that. Tanya,
do you want to ask Malcolm Nance anything while we're doing this line of questioning?
Tanya in Chicago, hello.
Hi, Stephanie Miller. I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller, so I've got my notes together.
Okay.
I did see Sexy Liberal in Chicago. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Squeak.
Yes.
Okay. I did see the Sexy Liberal Chicago pay-per-view. I have been phone banking. Now, my adventure is my ballot. I'm in Tampa to clear out my mom's house because she passed away in July, but she was in control. Everything was peaceful. Even with dementia, she was running everything to the end, including outliving my dad. So anyway, since I was going to be in Tampa, and she lived to be 90 and a half, my dad lived to be 91. Anyway, so my Chicago ballot has 95 freaking judges. I checked every single one. I also checked the ballot and didn't vote. I also checked down ballot, and there's one rep I didn't vote for because he was spreading misinformation about the female Olympic boxer, Imani Khalif, saying she was transgender when she's not. So it took me about 5 days to finish my ballot. Went to the nearby post office here in Tampa, closed because of Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Went to another post office, Divine Intervention. They pick up their mail at 3 o'clock. I got there at 2:50. So I've done my duty.
Okay, good for you. Hooray.
Yes.
Hooray. America thanks you. America thanks you. That was It was a long story. I thought there was going to
you
be
know
an onion belt, but it ended well for America.
She needed to get it out there. She's patriotic.
Exactly. Yeah, and she brought up the trans issue. Dana Goldberg reminds you, America, if you drop a boy off at school and pick up a girl, you're drunk. You picked up the wrong child.
Oh.
Go back and get the right child.
Someone else's child.
Yes.
You kidnapped a child. You need to return the child.
Don't drive back to school drunk, Stephanie. Oh, God.
I didn't mean to imply that.
Well, you...
49 minutes after the hour.
I think it was more than an implication. I think it was verbatim.
Yes, it was.
You're drunk. Go home. Also, this is a Wendy's, ma'am. All right. 49 minutes after the hour, this portion of the show.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Tristan's not at the...
Hi. Oh, I just happened to wander in again. Oh.
Yeah.
There's a lawyer.
Yes.
Oh, hey, just pulling it off the street. See what he has to say.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like we've all just become so numb to the law breaking on Trump's side that you're just like, is that legal? And then this is what happens. There's one of Trump's impeachment lawyers said this may be illegal. Talk to us about this.
Maybe actually that should just be the name of my show or somebody else's show. It's like, is that legal?
Right.
I mean, it's
exactly.
like a daily segment we have to do every day. It's just like, is he? And we have this new rule apparently in America though that I was unaware of. I don't remember this passing Congress, that if you're in the home stretch for an election, you just get to continue to break the law as much as you want, and no one investigates you, no one prosecutes you, no one indicts you.
Thank you.
Like nobody. Nobody. Where is anybody on this? So I'm still looking into this. So I'm actually gonna cite here a non-lawyer, Mark Cuban, who then did point out, and I need to look into this more deeply today. It's on my list of things to do. Is that put aside the question of whether that Elon Musk stunt might break election law? What it looks like it breaks Pennsylvania gaming law because it's a drawing and it isn't registered, it isn't licensed.
Yeah.
It's a lottery.
Yeah.
So it could be breaking that law too. But yeah, I mean, and then we can talk about the Logan Act nonsense.
Let's get to that.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
What the CNN analyst said, I'm not saying Elon Musk is going to be locked up or put on trial anytime soon. What I'm saying is some respected scholars who study election law for a living saw what Musk did and immediately raised legal objections. The experts we spoke to said federal law makes it a crime to pay people to register to vote. I mean, I don't think it's just the immunity decision. It's what you just said. Like, we were just doing a story about how, this time some Republican officials, up to and including Mike Johnson, could help Trump, but it's because they weren't prosecuted the last time. Right. The fake electors and whatever. I mean, only the boots, not the suits, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's been part of the problem too, is that where I had been anticipating, and I think a lot of people were, that when the immunity decision came down back in July, I thought it was going to be an opportunity when DOJ needed to do the superseding indictment. There was a golden opportunity there to say, okay, now we're also going to indict these other 15 people the way that Georgia did.
Yeah.
That they didn't do that. In my view, the idea that you were only going to indict Trump made sense if you were going for speed, because indicting a whole bunch of other people was going to make the case more complicated and take longer to do. If that got thrown out the window because you were maybe only going to get to try him next year, then why not go and indict all of the other people that were clearly co-conspirators of this?
Yeah.
I still don't know why they haven't done that.
Thank you. Let me ask you, there's another piece. Experts hope this law could save America from Trump election chaos. The forgotten piece of legislation, one of many bipartisan reforms passed by Congress under Biden, was designed specifically to prevent the kind of scheme Trump attempted, in which the vice president could use sets of alternate electors that the Trump claim just declared, blah, blah, blah. There are still some potential legal hurdles that could cause the Supreme Court to step into an electoral dispute. But ultimately, this analyst writes, the process is harder to interfere than last time. I mean, we have to take some solaces that it's the Biden administration in charge right now, right?
Right.
But, it really does terrify you that Mike Johnson or the Supreme Court could get their grubby hands on this election, doesn't it?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Because, it could go to the House. right? If we don't have an electoral college winner, then the election goes to the House, which has happened in American history, but not for 150 years. And that should be terrifying. Now, the good news there is that the House that would make that decision is the newly elected House that will take office January 2nd. So we still have the power as voters to say, if we get a Democratic House in there, that will, and by the way, then it becomes a weird thing where it's by state. Yeah. So we have to worry about the state by state delegations, not just do we win Wisconsin at the presidential level, but can we actually make sure that Wisconsin has a majority of Democratic House members going in 2025?
That's when they talk about a threat to democracy, they're a threat. Could you imagine without parental consent? At first, when I was told that was actually happening, I said, you know, it's an exaggeration. No, it happens. It happens. There are areas where it happens.
It doesn't happen.
Only after they've eaten someone's dogs and cats.
Also, what is the exaggeration there? That there's only partial surgeries happening? That they just changed their name for the kid? What is the exaggeration there? That he could have been saying that this is the point that's acceptable, but you're taking it too far.
And I know it's funny, but people like tweet like, "Oh, you know, I'm in line for trans surgery at school, but it's going slow because they're using staplers and." But it's just, you know, we can joke because we're comedians, but it's not funny. It's leading
not
to
the trans
kids being
community.
bullied. You know.
Absolutely. When there is a community that is literally being killed on the streets at a massively high rate, especially trans women of color, to make the trans community a punchline for any joke, I don't think you understand the damage you're doing.
One last one, Kamala Harris.
He who has openly admired dictators said he would be a dictator on day.
15, yeah. Real quick.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there.
Yeah. God, it just cannot be more terrifying. We were saying Democrats, we're prone to panic. That's what we do. We opened the show talking about how Democrats are panicking, and the CNN data analyst is saying there's really no reason for it. But it's just because of what's at stake, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. And we just have to get out and vote. Try not to panic. Get out and get some fresh air. I know we're about to get slammed up against a wall. And I know you like that, Steffi, but not in a good way. So I love y'all, and I'll see you next week. Follow me on the socials, DG Comedy, especially Instagram, so I can post my picture of meeting Melissa Etheridge. I love you all.
Yes!
We love you, Melissa. Love you, Dana.
Thanks, Dana.
Bye.